Okay, imagine this. A world that's been uh, meticulously designed, everything's safe, totally orderly, predictable,
Uh,
comfortable.
right. A place where, things like pain, conflict, difficult emotions, they've just been systematically wiped out. No hunger, no war, no heartbreak.
Sounds pretty good on the surface, like a real utopia.
But you got to stop and ask, right? What's the trade-off for getting rid of all suffering? If you engineer pain out, do you maybe lose joy too? Love, individuality?
All the messy stuff that makes life,
Right.
well, life.
Exactly. And that big paradox, that's really at the heart of Lois Lowry's incredible novel, The Giver.
So today, that's what we're doing. We're taking a deep dive into this seemingly perfect society, and we'll follow this young boy, Jonas, as he starts to see the chilling reality underneath it all.
And to help us navigate this really complex world, we've got a bunch of stuff to draw on, key bits from the novel itself, obviously,
Right.
but also some really insightful literary criticism, articles looking at the dystopian side, the philosophy, and even some thoughts from Lois Lowry herself.
So our mission here is to kind of unpack how this community actually works, trace Jonas's awakening, explore the power of memory, the good and the bad.
And really grapple with those fundamental questions the book throws up about choice, feelings, and what it even means to be human.
Think of it as a thoughtful literary analysis. We want to help you get a really deep, nuanced understanding of this story pretty quickly.
Okay, let's dive in. Starting with the world itself, this place they just call the community.
So when you first look at how the society is structured, what jumps out? It feels incredibly, I don't know, rigid, sterile almost.
Oh, absolutely. Rigid is a good word. The whole community is built on structure, on predictability. There's zero room for spontaneity. They have rules for absolutely everything.
So priestly.
Yeah, laid out in what they call the Book of Rules. And it impacts everything, how people talk in public, these required family rituals like sharing feelings at dinner. It's a society where ambiguity or doing your own thing just isn't okay.
And the bedrock of all this control is what they call sameness. How did they even get to that point? What does it really mean?
Well, sameness wasn't something that just happened. It was a conscious decision made way back. The chief elder kind of hints at this, right? She says, "We relinquished color when we relinquished sunshine and did away with differences."
Wow.
Yeah, the whole goal was to get rid of anything that might cause conflict or envy or, difficult choices, just erase all the differences.
So that meant changing the environment.
Totally. Homogenizing everything.
Right.
No mountains, no unpredictable weather, and crucially, no color. Jonas sees this, right? That time with the apple where it briefly changes.
Oh, right.
And then it just snaps back to the same nondescript shade like everything else. His tunic, the buildings, the whole world is basically monochrome, just to stop difference from making people want things or feel unhappy.
You actually engineered away color. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond just visuals, doesn't it, into language, too.
Precisely. Language is huge. There's this intense focus on using words with absolute precision. Words aren't just for communication, they're tools for control.
How so?
Well, they actively avoid words with complies emotional baggage. Jonas's mother gives that really stark example. He uses the word love tentatively about his parents.
And she shuts it down.
Completely. Corrects him firmly. Says it's inappropriate, too general. Suggests more functional things like, do you enjoy me? Or do you take pride in my accomplishments?
It's so chilling, stripping the emotion out of words like that. Remember Asher's story about mixing up snack and smack when he was little?
Yeah, the smack instead of snack.
At first, it sounds kind of funny, just a kid learning words. But it really shows how early and how strictly they enforce that precision. He got punished, didn't he? Mildly, but still.
Right. Physical discomfort for using the wrong word, it drills home how important it is to be exact, even from a young age. Imprecision isn't tolerated.
And this rigidity, it bleeds into every part of life, right? Like big life decisions.
Oh, absolutely. Individual choice, basically non-existent. Your job, your assignment, your spouse, how many kids you have. The elders decide all of that for you.
Why? What's the thinking there?
The philosophy comes straight from the chief elder. When people have the freedom to choose, they choose wrong. Simple as that.
So choice itself is seen as dangerous.
Inherently dangerous, a source of mistakes, conflict, something that has to be managed and removed for the good of the whole community.
And they even control feelings with medication. That seems extreme.
It's the ultimate control, isn't it? Deep emotions are just not allowed. Any feelings that start bubbling up in teenagers, they call them stirrings, are treated with daily pills.
Jonas experiences that right before the ceremony.
Yeah, he feels that apprehension. He can't quite name it, which is telling in itself. He tells his parents during the feeling-sharing ritual.
They're just like, oh, time for the pills.
Exactly. Completely unemotional about it. It's just the next step. Time to start the medication like all adults do. It's a prescribed chemical fix for inconvenient things like emotions or, sexual feelings starting.
So the big goals are stability, safety, predictability. This seemingly perfect world. What are the main tools, the mechanisms they use to keep it all running smoothly?
The control is everywhere. Some of it's subtle, some pretty terrifying when you find out. Release is probably the most chilling one.
Right. At first, it sounds kind of vague.
Exactly. Just
And-
presented as, leaving the community, going elsewhere. It's hinted that it's serious, like for breaking major rules. Remember the father getting released after a third mistake?
Yeah.
Unspeakable disgrace.
Yeah. The ambiguity makes it seem mysterious, maybe a bit scary, but not evil at first.
Right. But then Jonas learns the truth.
That's horrific.
Absolutely horrific. It's state-sanctioned death, usually by lethal injection.
Why did they do it?
Various reasons, breaking rules, yes. But also, if a new child isn't developing properly, being inadequate, like Gabriel was maybe going to be.
Oh, God. Or for the elderly, when they can't contribute anymore. And tragically, if someone requests it, like Rosemary, the previous receiver who failed.
So it's their way of just removing anything or anyone that disrupts the sameness or becomes a burden.
Pretty much. Efficient removal.
And there's also this constant low-key surveillance going on.
Yeah, it's subtle, but it's definitely there. Those public announcements over the speaker, they often feel like they're aimed at specific people without saying names, like the reminder Jonas got after taking the apple home. Objects are not to be removed.
Right, targeting specific behavior.
And the mandatory sharing of feelings and dreams every day, that's another form of monitoring. It keeps everyone emotionally in line, flags any deviations, like Jonas's stirrings, so they can be managed right away.
It's control through social pressure and forced openness. Classic dystopian stuff.
Definitely.
So you put it all together. No color, no music, no strong emotions, no pain, no real choice. You get this world that traded, I guess, vibrancy and depth for this idea of security and ease. Yeah, even the physical world is blandly perfect. That Apple Jonas saw a change, described as a perfect sphere in a nondescript shade.
And the community leaders, they see this as a win.
Clearly. They achieve safety, no suffering, no hard decisions, no conflict. This engineered world does kind of lull people into a false sense of ease, a sort of superficial calm.
But the downsides, they're huge.
Immense. From the novel's viewpoint, they're devastating. The community lives in profound ignorance. They can't learn from history, so they're probably doomed to repeat mistakes, like issues with population or the environment, maybe.
They just don't have the context.
None at all. No depth of understanding about human nature, the world, even themselves. Without memory, there's no real joy, no deep connection, no historical consciousness which you need to grow to understand where you came from and where you might go. They're just stuck in this perpetual kind of ignorant present.
It almost sounds like a really twisted take on communalism, where the group matters more than anything, but there's a difference, isn't there?
Yeah, there is a key difference. While some communal societies might prioritize unity to survive together, the sources point out that the giver's community isn't like that. It's not an organic bond formed by shared experience or mutual need.
It's artificial.
Completely artificial. Engineered and enforced by rules and state control. It's not about people coming together naturally to face challenges. It's about imposing stability from the top down, eliminating the challenges altogether. Control for stability, not bonding for survival.
Which brings us perfectly to Jonas. He starts out completely inside this system, right? Just a normal kid fitting in.
Totally. He begins fully integrated. We see him doing all the rituals, the formal apologies, the evening sharing of feelings, the morning dream-telling. He accepts the rules, the structure. He doesn't question it.
And his interactions with his friends, Asher and Fiona, they show us what normal looks like there.
Exactly. They seem content. They follow the rules. Fiona's comfortable with her work at the House of the Old, even the part about release. Asher's just Asher, struggling a bit with language precision, but generally fitting in. They represent the community's baseline.
But even before his big assignment, there are these little hints that Jonas is different.
Subtle, yeah, but they're there. He has pale eyes, which is mentioned as being rare, a physical difference in this world of sameness.
Okay.
But more importantly, he has those weird moments where things seem to change, like the
Yeah.
apple or seeing something flicker in the faces in the crowd at the ceremony.
That's his seeing beyond.
That's the start of it. His capacity to see beyond the sameness, which is tied to receiving memories and seeing color, it sets him apart, even before he knows why.
Then comes the big moment, the catalyst, the ceremony of 12, where your whole life gets decided.
Yeah, the tension in that scene is incredible. The chief elder is calling up the 11s, giving out their assignments, and Jonas is just feeling this intense apprehension. He can't even properly name the feeling, which itself shows how limited their emotional vocabulary is.
And then she skips him, just
Yeah.
goes right past him.
Oh, the shock. She finishes naming all the others, and Jonas is left standing there. The whole auditorium feels it. You feel Jonas's dread.
And his assignment, when it finally comes after that awful pause, it's completely unexpected.
Totally unique. Receiver of memory. It's framed as this huge honor needing intelligence, integrity, courage, wisdom, and that mysterious capacity to see beyond.
But it also sets him apart immediately.
Instantly. The chief elder makes a point of saying there's only one receiver, and she mentions the previous failure, Rosemary, the girl chosen years before who disappeared. Her name became not to be spoken.
The ultimate disgrace, erase.
Right. So it's an honor, but it's also heavy, isolated, and comes with this shadow of past failure.
So his training with the giver, this is where everything starts to unravel for him, isn't it? How does that work? The memory transfer.
The giver, who's the current receiver holding all the memories, transmits them literally through touch. He places his hands on Jonas's bare back.
And the memories just transfer.
Seems like it. A physical, emotional, sensory transfer. The giver starts him off gently, choosing pleasant memories first, trying to introduce him to this whole new world of feeling and sensation.
Like the snow and the sledding. Those are so vivid.
Exactly. Snow, the warmth of sunshine, even the slight pain of a sunburn, the sheer joy of sledding downhill, the incredible beauty of colors.
Things completely unknown in his world.
Totally eliminated. Experiencing them through memory brings actual physical feelings, cold, warmth, happiness, things that are brand new to him, and they immediately stand out against the blandness he's used to.
It's like opening a door to a whole different reality he never imagined.
It is. These memories start revealing the richness, the variety, the depth of the world they lost. It makes the flaws in sameness painfully obvious, the emptiness of a life without real feeling.
And the training gets more intense.
Gradually, yes, it moves from those simpler sensory things to really complex emotions and concepts. Love, the deep comfort of family connections, grandparents.
Which don't exist in his community.
Right. But then also the other side, intense pain, like breaking a leg, the gnawing feeling of hunger, the absolute horror and devastation of war, the desolation of loss, of loneliness.
And this isn't just learning facts from him. It takes a huge emotional toll.
Oh, absolutely. Receiving these memories literally awakens his own capacity to feel deeply. And it makes him incredibly sad about his own community. Remember when he sees his friends playing that war game?
Yeah, that hit him hard.
He's overwhelmed by sadness because he knows what war actually is from the memories. For them, it's just a game. This growing awareness isolates him more and more. He can't share this massive inner world with Asher or Fiona. They just wouldn't get it. They're still content in that emotional void.
So his knowledge becomes this heavyweight.
A huge burden, leading to sadness, confusion, and this growing separation from everyone he thought he knew.
Which really brings us to the core idea.
Yeah.
Memory. Its power, but also its burden. Why did the community get rid of it in the first place?
Well, according to the giver, their reasoning was, well, pragmatic in a twisted way, focused on achieving stability and ease. They wanted to eliminate pain, suffering, conflict. And they believed people made wrong choices when left to their own devices.
So keep all the messy history locked up with one person.
Exactly. Hold all the memories in the receiver. Then the community could consult the past only when the elders felt it was absolutely necessary for guidance, avoiding what they saw as the chaos of everyone knowing history. It basically lulled everyone else into this false sense of safety and comfort.
The receiver takes the hit for everyone else.
Shoulders the entire burden of human history. But the cost for the receiver is profound isolation.
But what does the community lose by doing this? What are the drawbacks for them?
The drawbacks are massive. Devastating, really, from the book's perspective. The community lives in deep ignorance. They can't learn from the past, so they're probably bound to repeat mistakes without even knowing it. Things like overpopulation or resource depletion are hinted at.
They lack depth.
Completely.
Yeah.
No understanding of human nature, the complexities of the world, or even themselves. Without the context memory provides, there's no real joy, no genuine connection, no historical consciousness, which is so vital for growth and understanding.
And Jonas gets both sides of memory,
Yeah.
right? It's not all sunshine and sledding.
Not at all. The novel presents memory as having this intense duality. You have the beautiful, life-affirming stuff, color, sunshine, real family love, warmth, joy, grandparents, a concept totally alien to them.
But they
Then you have the agonizing parts. The sting of sunburn turning painful, the sharp agony of a broken leg, crippling hunger, the sheer terror and devastation of war, the deep ache of loss, the crushing weight of loneliness.
experiencing both must completely change how he sees everything.
It's fundamental to his transformation. The beautiful memories become even more precious because he now understands the darkness and suffering that can exist alongside them, and the painful memories become an almost unbearable weight because there's no one else to share them with, no one who can truly understand.
The giver feels that too.
Deeply. He talks about being just as tired as I am today, worn down by carrying generations of suffering, and we see the tragic outcome of that burden with Rosemary, the previous receiver trainee. She couldn't handle the intensity of the painful memories she received.
And she asks for release.
Yeah, she couldn't bear it.
And memory, in this world, seems directly linked to being an individual, to feeling things deeply.
Absolutely. In a society dedicated to sameness, having this rich, complex inner world of memory is what makes Jonas fundamentally different. It connects him to his own unique perspective, gives him an individuality nobody else has.
It's the source of his feelings.
The only source of deep feeling. The contrast between Jonas's awakening emotions and the emotional flatness of everyone else is heartbreaking. He realizes he feels such love for Asher and for Fiona.
But they can't feel it back.
They could not feel it back without the memories. He gets it. He understands that memories aren't just facts. They're what make you capable of feeling, of connecting. They're forever shaping who you are.
Let's maybe pause and look at the key characters. They're not just moving the plot. They really function as guides and symbols here.
Definitely. Jonas, our way in, he's defined by his empathy, isn't he? That innate ability to feel deeply is why he can receive the memories. He really embodies that basic human desire for truth, for real emotion, for being an individual in a world trying to stamp it out.
His journey takes incredible courage.
Facing those painful memories.
Yeah.
And his final act, choosing to leave. It's a massive sacrifice. Potentially destroying his own life to try and bring memory, bring feeling back to everyone. There's even that symbolic meaning in his name, Jonas, like a dove seeking peace, maybe, but also like the biblical Jonah or even destroyer. His actions will shatter the community to save Gabriel and restore real connection.
And the giver himself, this wise, weary mentor figure.
He is. He represents the sheer weight of collective memory, the importance and the crushing burden of holding on to human experience. His isolation is just palpable. You feel how tired he is.
But Jonas gives him hope.
Yeah, he finds renewed purpose in Jonas. He develops this deep, almost parental love for him. He becomes Jonas's guide, his co-conspirator in the escape plan. He sees that Jonas might actually succeed where Rosemary couldn't. It's interesting, Lois Lowry herself mentioned in an AMA asking, "Can I be the giver?" as she got older. Shows her own connection evolving.
Then you have characters like Fiona and Asher. They kind of show us the success of the community's conditioning, right?
Exactly. They represent the contentment, but also the profound limitations of those who are fully part of sameness. They're nice kids, well-adjusted to the system, but they're completely unable to grasp deep emotion or color or the significance of the past.
Like when Jonas tries to explain seeing colors.
Right, and his mother asks if Asher sees it too, then dismisses it. It highlights how unremarkable Asher is supposed to be in this system. Their adherence to rules, Asher's language struggles, Fiona's disturbing ease with her work involving release, it just throws Jonas's growing awareness and alienation into sharper focus. Fiona, especially, training to care for the old and infants, her calm acceptance of release is deeply unsettling.
And Jonas's parents, they really embody that emotional emptiness.
Textbook examples of the normal citizen under the pills and the rules. They follow everything without question, show zero inclination to challenge authority, and they're completely unable to understand or feel love. They dismiss it as a meaningless, archaic word.
Their attitude towards release is maybe the most disturbing part.
Chilling. The detached, almost cheerful way they discuss it, especially the father performing it on a new child he supposedly cared for. It's a horrifying demonstration of how effectively the system, the pills, the conditioning, have stripped away basic human empathy. They are the system's success story.
And then there's Gabriel, The baby. He becomes so important for Jonas.
Gabe, yeah, the new child who's not thriving, who gets that temporary pass from release because Jonas's father pleads for him and Jonas helps care for him. He immediately becomes this powerful symbol
That hope.
hope, yeah, innocence, the potential future that Jonas is desperately trying to save. And he has those pale eyes, just like Jonas, hinting at his own hidden potential.
Jonas forms a real bond with him.
A deep, protective bond. He shares memories with Gabe to soothe him, sees those little flashes of color in his cheeks, and ultimately it's the threat of Gabriel's scheduled, unavoidable release that pushes Jonas over the edge. It turns his descent into urgent, desperate action.
All these characters are living within and reacting to that central philosophical puzzle of the book. This clash between choice and sameness.
That tension is everything. Between societal control and individual freedom, the community made an extreme choice. Control and perceived safety above absolutely everything else.
Their argument for sameness.
Yeah,
It has a certain logic, doesn't it? If you only look at the surface.
it does in a chilling way. Eliminate pain, conflict, envy. Eliminate the risk of people making wrong choices. It kind of echoes distortedly that idea in some communal societies where unity was key for survival, but here it's state-imposed unity, not a collective agreement born from facing hardship together.
But Jonas's entire journey argues against it.
Absolutely. His experience reveals the terrible cost. Losing joy, love, real connection, individuality, wisdom, creativity, losing the ability to learn from the past. It basically strips away everything that makes human life rich and meaningful.
And as he learns more, he naturally starts to push back, doesn't he? It leads to rebellion.
His first lie to his parents is a huge moment. When he says yes, he understands why love is inappropriate, but inside he profoundly disagrees. That's the first time he consciously hides his truth from the system.
A small step, but significant.
Very. And his final choice, to leave the community altogether, against every rule, every expectation, that's the ultimate act of defiance. It challenges the entire foundation of their society, which is built on control and zero dissent. The careful planning of the escape with the giver shows how risky and deliberate this rebellion is.
The book really makes you ask what perfect even means. Can a society be perfect if it gets rid of suffering, but also gets rid of deep emotion, real connection, individual choice?
It throws that dilemma right at you. Is a life without pain, risk, or suffering truly worth living if it also lacks the things that give life meaning? Things like love, connection, self-discovery, growth, which, let's face it, often come tangled up with struggle and vulnerability.
It touches on those bigger philosophical ideas, doesn't it? About suffering sometimes giving life meaning.
It does seem to suggest something along those lines. Not that suffering itself is good, obviously, but that a life lived completely shielded from any hardship, any challenge, might be, well, impoverished, meaningless, ultimately. The novel strongly implies that the capacity for pain is inseparable from the capacity for joy and love.
Which brings us to maybe the most horrifying part of this society. The truth about release. The value they actually place on life.
Jonas finding out what release to elsewhere really means. That's a shattering moment, a point of no return. He sees his own father, a nurturer, someone supposed to care for babies, perform the act on a twin new child deemed inadequate.
Can you describe that scene? It's so clinical in the book.
It's terrifyingly detached. Jonas watches on a screen as his father gets a syringe and a small bottle, fills it with clear liquid, and injects the baby. It's a lethal injection carried out with this chilling efficiency. Like it's just another task.
The sources mention comparisons to other dystopias here.
Yeah, the treatment of the elderly, the unwanted. Life becomes disposable if it doesn't fit the community's needs or convenience.
What's so profoundly disturbing is the total lack of empathy, the lack of understanding about death itself.
Exactly. Suppressing emotion and memory has made them incapable of grasping the finality, the seriousness of death. Jonas's father does it with this cheerful, almost routine manner, talking to the baby gently right before. He literally thinks he's just releasing the child to some vague elsewhere, like letting go of a balloon, not ending a life.
It shows how completely the society dehumanizes people.
Brutally. It prioritizes conformity and convenience over the actual sanctity of an individual life, whether it's a baby or an old person.
Rosemary's story fits into this too, doesn't it? Her request for release.
It does. She couldn't handle the pain of the memories, so she asked for release. To the community, it was just a procedure. They couldn't comprehend the immense suffering, the despair that drove her to it. They couldn't mourn her. They just erased her name, let her memories dissipate, a tragedy they were incapable of even recognizing.
Seeing his father do this, It must just destroy any remaining illusions Jonas has about his community.
Absolutely. Any idea that it's fundamentally good or benevolent is shattered. It solidifies his understanding of their ignorance, their cruelty, however unintentional it might seem on their part. This horrific truth makes his decision to leave not just an act of rebellion, but an urgent moral necessity. He simply cannot stay in a world that does this, that denies feelings so completely.
And that leads us right to the end of the novel, which is famous, or maybe infamous, for being, well, ambiguous.
Right, that ending. Jonas escapes with Gabriel, who's weak, needing constant care. The journey itself is incredibly hard. Endless miles on the bicycle. Jonas hiding during the day, scavenging for food, facing the harsh weather the community eliminated.
And they're being hunted.
Yeah, the plane's searching for them. That's terrifying. The community's control trying to reach out and pull them back.
But as they get closer to somewhere,
Yeah.
things start to change for Jonas sensorially.
Yes. As they're nearing exhaustion, nearing this potential destination, Jonas starts to perceive things absent from his community. He thinks he hears music. He sees lights twinkling ahead.
Sensory details that suggest difference, life.
Exactly. They signal he might be approaching a place where richness and variety still exist. A real elsewhere.
And this is where it gets debated. What does that ending mean?
It's notoriously open-ended. The sources are clear that this lack of definite closure leaves many readers feeling unsatisfied, even frustrated. The text just doesn't spell out whether he makes it or not.
So what are the main ways people interpret it?
Generally, two main camps. The hopeful view is that Jonas does reach a real elsewhere, a place with music, lights, color, emotion, and maybe, by leaving, the memories he carried are somehow released back into his old community, sparking change there. The music and lights are real signs of this vibrant new world.
And the other interpretation?
The more tragic or perhaps metaphorical reading is darker. It suggests Jonas and Gabriel are actually dying from cold and starvation. The music and lights are hallucinations, maybe beautiful final moments as Jonas succumbs. Elsewhere might just be a metaphor for death, or a final escape into memory itself, not a literal place.
Lowry herself has commented on the difficulty of filming that ambiguity, right?
Yeah.
Compared to the book.
Yeah, she noted that film struggles to capture that internal, subjective experience the way a book can. What Jonas perceives at the end is so internal, so possibly filtered through exhaustion and memory, it's hard to portray definitively on screen. The book allows for that deep ambiguity more easily.
Why do you think she chose to end it like that? Why not give us a clear answer?
I think the ambiguity is the whole point, really. It forces us, the readers, right into the middle of the novel's biggest questions. Did he make it? Did his sacrifice matter for the community? Did he bring change? Or was it just his own escape?
Leaves you thinking.
Exactly. The lack of closure isn't a flaw. It's an invitation to keep grappling with the themes. Hope, the future, the potential for change, what it means to be human. It leaves all those questions hanging in the air for us to ponder long after we finish the book.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, reflecting on this journey through the giver's world, from that engineered sameness to Jonas's awakening, the power of memory.
You know, the novel's power just lasts. Even though it's often labeled YA, it tackles these incredibly complex philosophical, social, ethical questions. It really pushes you to think critically about control, conformity, memory, the whole human experience.
It encourages you to look harder at your own world.
Yeah, and to keep searching for truth, as Lois Lowry put it. It powerfully argues that a life lived only for comfort, stripped of struggle and deep feeling, is ultimately, well, not a fully meaningful life.
It makes you think about that balance in our own lives, doesn't it? Between safety and comfort and the richness and sometimes pain that comes from embracing the whole spectrum of experience.
Maybe the final thought to leave you with, pulling from all this. If, as some philosophies suggest, facing challenges, navigating suffering, not the suffering itself, but the growth it forces can be a source of deep meaning, what is really lost when a society engineers away all struggle, all pain, all challenge?
What's the true cost?
Right. What does it cost us, as individuals and as societies, to live a life where the lowest lows, and therefore maybe the highest highs too, have been flattened out? Maybe think about your own life. What memories, good and bad, have fundamentally shaped who you are, how you see the world? What value do you place on those experiences, even the really tough ones?
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.